Now Smith has it. DeMoss, the steal for three. Buried! Joey DeMoss. The far side. Timmons blocked again. Daly, top of the key, spinning. Daly up and one. What a play. Position Epps to Valentine. Yes, sir. Mackay with another. Corrado left, block up, and one. The Graphics up by one, now down by two. It's Davis again. Zion again. He cannot miss. Now it's Terza for the lead. Got it. Picked off. That's RJ Sledge. Sledge pulls up. Sledge and one. RJ Sledge, incredible.
Welcome into another episode of the Valley Sports Guys podcast, live here from His Place Coffee Community and more in Monessen. I am Mon Valley Independent Assistant Sports Editor Jose Negron, joined by Multimedia Director Extraordinaire Alex Lyons for the first episode of 2024 and episode number 96 of the VSG podcast. Thank you for tuning in here on this Wednesday morning. A lot to discuss here, Alex, not only in the sports of basketball and swimming and wrestling, some of the things that we have going on during the winter sports season, but we had some All-Stars announced recently on New Year's Day, well, actually the day after New Year's Day, on January 2nd. The all Mon Valley soccer teams were announced. The Fab 15 has kind of morphed into the all Mon Valley soccer teams, was announced on January 2nd, and finally get to honor our local soccer teams after a very successful spring season.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we had some great soccer around the Mon Valley all year long, and you know, great to see those guys and girls who had those spectacular seasons inside the Mon Valley kind of get recognized for their accomplishments, because we had a lot of talented individuals, a lot of, you know, really record-breaking style seasons around the Mon Valley, and some, you know, maybe some surprises. And, you know, it was great to see these guys and girls get honored for their great accomplishments in what was a fantastic season of Mon Valley soccer.
Right. We'll run through our award winners here, and then also just run through and name all of the players that were selected to the all Mon Valley teams. And one thing that kind of stands out on the boys' side is after winning their first Whitfield championship in program history, the Bentworth boys were definitely well represented amongst the award winners. We'll start out on the boys' side with our player of the year, and it was no other than Bell Vernon area's Trevor Kovach, who set a program record with 47 goals during the regular season, was the second leading goal scorer in the WPIAL behind Jeanette's Jordan Taylor. Only a junior, Trevor Kovach, a big season for him, leading the Leopards to the playoffs. He was an all-Whitfield and all-section selection as well. He is this year's All-Mon Valley Player of the Year. Honorable mentions, of course, to Charleroi Arlo McIntyre and Bentworth's Ryan Messner, who also was a award winner. We'll get to that here in a minute. But going to the Excellence in Leadership Award, another Bentworth Bearcat in Ryan Colbert, who was instrumental in helping lead Bentworth to such a successful season for their program, getting to the state playoffs after winning the Whitfield Championship, making it further into the state semifinals, and also was an all-Whitfield and all-section selection. Excellence in Leadership Award goes to Ryan Colbert of the Bentworth Bearcats. The Defensive Player of the Year, also from Bentworth, was Andrew Vipperman, who was the leader of that Bearcat defense. Bentworth seeded 7th overall in the Whitfield playoffs. They beat the 1, the 2, and the 3 seed, and that back line was a big reason why. And Andrew Vipperman was a huge reason with that.
And to be fair, that was very poor seating.
Yes.
And,
Yeah, we know that. Yeah.
I mean, in all honesty, we've talked about that a bunch. There's a
Yeah.
reason, they went as far as they did.
Right. And Andrew Vipperman was a big part of that. A couple honorable mention selections: Mason Yashenko, Owen Haywood, Jake Chambers on that award. Also got to mention Braden Miller from Thomas Jefferson was named an honorable mention selection for the Excellence in Leadership Award. Coach of the Year, I mean, I don't know if there was much of a debate here. Nick Malarby gets it in his first season as the head coach. I know plenty of years as an assistant with the Bearcats, but in year number 1, he leads the team to their first ever WPIAL championship. A couple of rallies during that WPIAL run, rallied for a 3-2 overtime win in the championship game. After trailing 2-0 in the half to Charleroi. So congratulations to Nick Malarby. A couple honorable mentions in John DeColey from Charleroi and Doug Finke from Elizabeth Forward. And lastly, on the boys' side, the Breakthrough Player of the Year. That is lastly, right? Yeah. Oh, no, that isn't lastly. The Breakthrough Player of the Year also from Wentworth is Ryan Messner. For the second straight season, he earns that award just because he continues to shine as a young player. 6th in the WPIAL with 33 goals during the regular season was a huge part of that Bentworth success and what they were able to do from an offensive standpoint. Dylan Klinger and Brandon Yashenko also received honorable mention selections. And then our goalkeeper of the year, Charleroy's Nate Mazon, with another goalkeeper of the year award for him. Just was unbelievable back there for them. A brick wall for the Charleroi Cougars back there. His ability to communicate with his back line and make those big saves when needed. It's kind of a no-brainer that he was able to win that award. Sam Wessel of Thomas Jefferson, Bryce Burkhart from Belle Vernon, also with consideration for those awards. And seems like those are all players that are very well deserved of those postseason accolades.
Absolutely. I mean, just to the runs that some of these teams went on, and I think goaltending was so impressive inside the Mon Valley, girls and boys, and obviously Nate Mazon was just absolutely spectacular all season long, and really couldn't do much better than what he did. I mean, Nate's just been a staple in that cage for Charleroi for years now, and well deserving of that honor. Yeah,
we'll move to the girls' side here and start with our Player of the Year. And Elizabeth Ford's Brooklyn Baldensberger scored 33 regular season goals, finishing 6th in the WPIAL in that category. Had a goal in the Warriors playoff win over Hampton and was an all-WPIAL and all-section selection. And I think a big reason with her getting even more so votes is she was even more important given the absence of Abby Beinlich, to that EF team. Brooklyn really stepped up and, it's something that she's been able to do over the last several years. We know how good she's been, but this year she had to take her game to another level, and it seemed like she was very successful.
Oh, absolutely. And it was one of those things, not that Brooklyn wasn't fantastic, but she went from almost kind of being second fiddle, which is not saying anything against Brooklyn at all, but she would have a lot more room to operate, a lot less focus on her when you had an Abby Beinlich along with you. But now when that pressure kind of solely focuses on you, you have to step your game up even more, and you're going to go against the best coverage every single game. And I think, Brooklyn was able to take that in stride and still thrived in it. Just absolutely incredible season for her. And it was with all the more pressure on her.
Yeah. A couple of honorable mention selections for the Player of the Year award. Bella Corrado from Charleroi, who broke the 100-goal mark in her career this year for the Cougars. Sammy Maglico from Thomas Jefferson, who was phenomenal for a very talented Jaguars team. So congratulations to our Player of the Year nominees and our Player of the Year in Brooklyn Baldensberger. Moving on to our Mo Rosensteel Leadership Award. That was presented to Abigail Allen from South Allegheny. My apologies. And I'll actually read this excerpt that Ed Rosensteel wrote on Abby Allen, the winner of this year's Mo Rosensteel Leadership Award. Leadership is sacrifice, and most young leaders learn this as they go, what it looks like and how it impacts others. Getting to learn about Abby Allen has been enjoyable the last couple of days. Abby is described as the consummate teammate. She has a positive attitude, she's funny, and uses those attributes to pick up her teammates. As most leaders are accustomed to, they lead by example, and they are willing to sacrifice for the team. The we before me mentality. Abby was willing to give up the glory of goals for the much overlooked role of defending. It was what was best for the team. Even when she was injured in a crucial game, she found her voice from the sideline. South Allegheny head coach Andrew Dyson said, "She became an extension of our coaching staff and was there to keep motivating her teammates." Off the field, Abby continues providing leadership as a member of the Leadership Academy and PE partners at SA. Abby demonstrates in daily life, you can have everything you want in life if you will just help enough other people get what they want. It's a quote we believe in by Zig Ziglar. Congrats to Abby Allen for being named this year's MVI Mo Rosensteel Leadership Award winner. A couple of honorable mentions for this award: Natalie Lamenza from Thomas Jefferson, Bella Corrado from Charleroi, and Elizabeth Wilson from Ringgold. But congratulations to Abby Allen on winning this award, which we are proud to be able to dedicate this to Mo Rosensteel and be able to kind of continue her legacy through this award as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Just one of the, obviously, I think it's a special thing on the girls' side when we look at this award and, what it truly means, you said, just to be able to honor Mo with it. And, Abby Allen was such a vocal leader for that team that shocked so many people, I think, this season. And, what SA did was nothing short of amazing, an incredible season, an incredible honor for Allen, who had a fantastic year for the South Allegheny Gladiators.
Yeah, and going off that, we got to mention, of course, joining Abby Allen as an award winner is her head coach. Andrew Dyson named the Coach of the Year. Year after missing the playoffs, Dyson led the senior-laden Gladiators to the Whippeal playoffs this year, entered as the fourth-place team out of Section 2-1, and that's where the Gladiators shined. They were the number 12 seed in the playoffs, defeated number 5 Greensburg Central Catholic 2-1 in overtime, and then dealt number 4 Winchester Thurston a 4-2 loss to send the Gladiators into the Whippeal semifinals. They did fall in the semis, but advanced to the Whippeal consolation game, where they fell to Springdale. This is just an unbelievable season for South Allegheny. I think a team that had some high expectations for themselves in a way, just because they were all seniors. They had played in some big games, but this is an SA team that I think shocked a lot of people, getting to the Whippeal semifinals, and got to give Coach Andrew Dyson a round of applause, a hat tip of the cap for the way that he was able to help lead that SA team. A couple honorable mention selections in Tom Cameron from Charleroi and Satiri Sarakis in his first year at Elizabeth Forward, but well-deserved honor there for Andrew Dyson.
Yeah, I just saw him on Friday at the Montour South Allegheny game, but it was one of those things, Coach Dyson took what he had and shocked, I think, a lot of people. And, that was talent up and down the lineup. You didn't know where – you could be different girls every night. We talked about, how good Allen was. Ella Lotz in goal was a staple for them. And South Allegheny, I think, shocked a lot of people making that run this past year. And it was great to see as they were able to kind of make their way a lot further than I think anybody really saw possible. I don't think we were surprised at some because we've got to see them, but that was a great run for them.
Yeah, definitely some upsets there in the playoffs by the South Allegheny Gladiators, but some well-deserved postseason accolades for both Abby Allen and head coach Andrew Dyson. Our defensive player of the year also comes from that section. Charleroi freshman Ariana Chiplaski, an offensively gifted Cougars team that we knew was going to rely heavily on Bella Corrado and McKenna DeYounger, but Chiplaski came in right away and anchored that back line at the sweeper position. Charleroi only allowed 21 goals this season, and her speed, skill, and vision really allowed her to have success back there. Was an all-Whippeal selection and an all-section honoree in her first varsity season, and I'm sure that she's going to be a leader for years to come on that back line. Some other honorable mentions for the Defensive Player of the Year award: Megan Keterakis from Bentworth, Alyssa Terza from Elizabeth Forward, and Olivia Kristen from Elizabeth Forward. Moving over to our Breakthrough Player of the Year, one of our honorable mention selections for Player of the Year, Sammy Maglico from Thomas Jefferson, an all-Whippeal performer this season, sophomore who scored 26 goals during the regular season and was a big part of the Jaguars' successful 17-game win streak that they had this year. They won the Section 3-3A title, and Maglico was a huge part of that success after TJ lost a lot of contributors to graduation, and she's going to be a big part of that puzzle for the next 2 seasons. A couple of honorable mentions, of course, Megan Keterakis from Bentworth, Kaylin Siebel from Elizabeth Ford, and Ariana Chiplaski from Charleroi. Moving over to our last award for the girls' side, the goalkeeper of the year, and the Charleroi netminders sweep the awards as Addison Conrad is named the goalkeeper of the year from the Charleroi Cougars, and we've seen her grow so much as a goalkeeper from being inexperienced during her freshman season to being an all-WPIAL and all-section performer this year. She made some huge saves when they were needed for this Charleroi team that made so much noise, winning that section title, getting to the playoffs, and Addison Conrad was a big part of that success.
Yeah, Addison Conrad, it's that true from nothing to a superstar mentality, and it took a lot of hard work to get to where she was at, and Charleroi, that was one of their big missing pieces. You knew you were going to have Boots and Bella for the longest time coming up and how good they were going to be. I mean, they both are fantastic players offensively. Then you add in the Chiplaski on the back end, and you add in Addison Conrad, who was just kind of that missing piece in net. And then Chiplaski this year kind of really put everything together for that Charleroi team to get what they needed to kind of be as successful as they were. And, that allowed a lot of other things to open up. But having a girl like Conrad who the development was so incredible to go from where she started to where she's at now.
Yeah, and a couple honorable mentions, very well deserved. This was kind of, I think, probably the toughest voting in terms of who was going to get this award, because Ella Lotz from South Allegheny was in the conversation. Emily Delano from Ringgold, who went down with an injury this season, but was so crucial for them when she was on the field. But the netminders on both sides were pretty impressive for Mon Valley teams.
Yeah, that was some of the best goaltending I've seen in a long time in a specific area, and we had some great goaltending all around the Mon Valley this year.
Yeah, now we'll go through our all Mon Valley teams. On the boys' side, of course, led by Player of the Year Trevor Kovac from Bell Vernon. From Charleroi, we have Bryce Large, Arlo McIntyre, Nate Mazon, Dylan Klinger, and Jake Chambers. Also joining Trevor Kovac on that all Mon Valley team is goalkeeper Bryce Burkhart. From Bentworth, we have Ryan Messner, as well as Ryan Colbert, John Scott, and Andrew Vipperman. From Ringgold, we have Owen Haywood. From Thomas Jefferson, Braden Miller. From Elizabeth Forward, Will Sine. From Sarah Catholic, AJ Majali, Jackson Paziviak, and Colin Holmes. And also joining Owen Haywood is his Ringgold teammate in Nick Evans. So congratulations to our boys all Mon Valley teams. On the girls' side, I'm actually just going to read them in the order that they're in instead of the order by team. But we have Sammy Maglico from Thomas Jefferson, Brooklyn Baldensberger from Elizabeth Ford, Natalie Lamenza from Thomas Jefferson, McKenna DeYounger and Bella Corrado from Charleroi, Giovanna Ferraro from Elizabeth Ford, Amani Arnold from Ringgold, Bella Moyer from Bentworth, Abby Allen from South Allegheny, Megan Katarakis from Bentworth, Ella Lotz from South Allegheny, Addison Conrad from Charleroi, Sam Saylor from Monessen, Lydia Reith from Sarah Catholic, Ariana Chiplaski from Charleroi, Katarina Rhodes from Bell Vernon, Olivia Della Lucia from Thomas Jefferson, and Elizabeth Wilson from Ringgold. But congratulations to our all Mon Valley team on the girls' side as well. But happy to be able to give some recognition to these recipients and these players for the hard work that they put in throughout the fall and what they were able to do in gaining some postseason accolades. So always a fun thing for us to do. Obviously a tough thing to come up with every year because there are a ton of players that deserve the recognition.
It's also easier, when we remember to send them in.
That's true.
Not pointing any fingers at myself.
Yeah, I was probably guilty there as well. A lot of stuff going on with the with winter sports season coming and kind of sneaking up on us every year. But very, very happy to be able to honor these young men and women for what they were able to do during the fall sports season. So until next season, we're very excited to continue our coverage of Mon Valley soccer moving forward. But talking a little bit, let's get into a little bit of basketball talk. We've seen some pretty big games over the last couple of days. Of course, you and I were together on Monday night for a girls section matchup between unbeaten Clairton and Sarah Catholic. I do want to I want to talk a little bit about two teams in particular that were coming off of tough losses and bounced back in a big way. And one of those teams is the Sarah Catholic Eagles, who suffered a pretty tough loss against Greensburg Central Catholic last week. They come into Monday's game against an unbeaten Clairton team, and a pretty convincing victory for the Sarah Catholic Eagles, as they're able to go on the road and hand Clairton its first loss. And balance was really the key for this Sarah Catholic team. Nikki Svanos is the one who kind of led the way, 27 points for her, leading 4 players in double figures for Sarah. Bree Battles with a double-double at 15 points, 10 rebounds. Abby Jennis with 15 points, and Kate Clark was probably the most impressive player on the floor. 14 points all in the first half, 17 boards, though. Was huge on the glass. I think that was a big factor in this win for Sarah Catholic, was just how much that they were successful and dominated on the boards. And Coach Carlton Wade from Clairton even alluded to that, how that was kind of the difference was, how Clairton was outmatched rebounding-wise. But, this Sarah team coming off their first section loss, and, it seemed like they were kind of firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, and I look at that too. If you look at that Sarah Catholic team, it was statement time to say, okay, hey, yeah, we lost to GCC. Clairton's undefeated, but we're still one of the top dogs inside the section. And, they did that without 2 key varsity players, and I think some of the Clairton faithful were not too happy about Coach Voigt having his starters in the majority of the game. He only had 2 girls on the bench.
Yeah, there's
no
not
German,
much you can do.
no Hussein, and no Riley Alabach in that game. So you kind of look at that, well, what do you want him to do? Obviously, Nikki Svanos, the sophomore, coming in for 27 was fantastic in that game. But when everybody's spreading the scoring around, when you have Kate Clark doing what she can do, I don't think Kate hit a 3 in that game. And
I don't think she
Clark
did,
is such a good 3-point shooter. And so you look at something like that Kate Clark didn't even go off from outside. I mean, that's a Sarah Catholic team that, even though they lost to GCC, I wouldn't be surprised if they have a chance to split that, kind of like we saw last year with Sarah Catholic. And, I said it on the broadcast, you're content letting Iona score 35 points.
Yep. Because,
okay, they're not getting much support, and that's the issue. They have got some more support than in years past, but Iona is still averaging over 50% of your team's points. We saw that with Charleroi and Will Wagner a few years back. That's not a recipe for success, and it's getting better with some young girls at Clairton, but it's still Iona Wade and not much help afterwards, because I don't think the rest of those Clairton girls are just experienced enough yet to handle a very talented, no matter what girl's on the court for Sarah Catholic. There's a reason Sarah's been one of the number 1 defenses in the WPIO for the last however many years now. I mean, they're always so good defensively, and Sarah Catholic was able to kind of shut them down. And, Iona did what she did. I was impressed. She was going a lot more left than I'm used to seeing her going. Obviously, used to be a very right-handed dominant shooter, but Iona looked great in that game, but not much help otherwise for Iona Wade. And as the Clairton faithful said, they were not a fan of the Golden Girls officiating that game.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing I was impressed by, you mentioned with Kate Clark, not hitting a 3, a great 3-point shooter, but she was so fearless in going to the basket. And that's, I think, something that, she can definitely – is maybe an underrated part of her game, because we look at her and we probably think, and a lot of people are like, all right, well, this is a legitimate 3-point threat, but she can attack the basket with the best of them. She's very capable of scoring her points in that fashion. And, in that second quarter in particular, Svanos kind of took over in the first, but in that second quarter in particular, it was the Kate Clark show, and she was really showing no fear there and getting to the hoop and scoring that way and being able to take advantage of her rebounds, getting some rebounds and getting some easy points as well, out of that as well.
Absolutely. And, I think this is something we at the Mon Valley maybe overlook, at least bringing up. We talk about it a lot with McKeesport and Brooke Evans.
Yeah.
Caitlin Cooley is that same style of player where she has, as the point guard, has so much talent around her. And Kate can score the basketball. Cooley is absolutely capable of putting the ball in the back of the net.
Right.
But she is a great distributor.
Everything kind of runs around her.
And if you don't have someone that can handle all that talent around you, you're not necessarily going to be successful. And I think Caitlin Coley does a great job at handling that position which not many people do. I think Cooley's very good at kind of dealing with a lot of different personalities. You know, we saw it on the volleyball floor, how Cooley handled herself, and I think that comes right into basketball as well, leading the point for Sarah Catholic and making sure Abby gets her touches, making sure Kate Clark gets her touches, making sure now Nikki Svanos is getting them, battles inside, and then you're going to have German and company all come in. You have Niedermeyer coming off the bench as well, who's another talented piece. But also in that game, it was great to see Abby Jennis, who went down with a leg injury, come back and finish it. I said, no matter what, that was the best thing to see, that it was not a serious knee injury, which it kind of looked like it could have been for Abby Jennis. You never want to see anyone go down like that. But that's a big, big win for Sarah Catholic to say, hey, we're still one of the top dogs in the section. We still plan on competing for a section title, and they got that big win over Clare. And on the road, you know, as well in that opening game of the week for us.
Right, and you know, they were able to come off a big loss with a big win, and so was the Belle Vernon area boys last night. Back-to-back nights were it was a similar story to Sarah Catholic, where, you know, Belle Vernon suffered their first section loss at the hands of Uniontown last week, have a chance to kind of regroup, reset, and re-enter the win column, and that's what they did last night against Laurel Highlands, an 81-52 victory for the Leps. Like Sarah Catholic, a balanced scoring attack is what led Belle Vernon. Zion Moore did Zion Moore things, you know, what he usually does, 20 points for him. Curdy Wade was phenomenal for the Leopards, contributed with 19 points. Alonzo Wade and Tommy Davis each with 12 points, 11 boards for Alonzo Wade, 10 for Tommy Davis, and they nearly had all 5 of their starters in double figures, as Trevor Kovac had 8 points, also contributed with 6 assists and 6 steals. But there was a lot of balance. There were guys coming off the bench when needed and contributed in big ways. But it seemed like for Belle Vernon, they got out to a big start. I think they were up 15-1 within the first 4.5 minutes. But really, they used their aggressive brand of defense. They used some nice ball movement to be able to get it around to different guys. Everybody was contributing in different ways. And, it seemed like it was a very good team effort for this Belle Vernon team that, Coach Salvino says, I have so much confidence in this group, but he thinks at times maybe they lack a little bit of confidence in themselves, and maybe let the tough times kind of, get to them at times, and he wants them to kind of go through those tough times and just learn from it, and he knows how good this team is. He just wants them to start learning about it. And I think that this is a good confidence booster of, when this team plays as a team and when everybody is doing their job and everybody is contributing in different ways, this is the result. You can beat teams. I know Laurel Highlands isn't the same team it's been in the past. Kind
of back to the LH of old before the Gallagher, DeShields, and I forget who
Pratt was there.
It wasn't even who transferred out.
Brandon.
He was in the MVI SBL, and that's why it's killing me.
I feel awful.
But he went up to Erie. I mean, he was incredible.
He was an amazing player as well. I mean, this was an LH team that was absolutely stacked.
And they had that nice 4-year run, but it's kind of back to LH was almost before those guys took their high school level. But you have to beat the teams you're supposed to beat if you're Belle Vernon. This is the team you're supposed to beat. You hung on for a tough win against Southmoreland, and did you see what Southmoreland and Uniontown did last night, Jose?
I did not.
I'm going to pull that up right now because I meant to do that last night, but I'll pull it up right now. But
you look
that's a tough section to be in still.
It is, and it's because I think there is aside from, you look at Uniontown and the talent that they have and what they were able to do last year, and they are one of those cream of the crop type of teams. But everybody else is kind of battling for those 2, 3, 4 spots in that section. You got a team like Belle Vernon. You got Elizabeth Ford, who has been phenomenal as of late. And then, even a team like Southmoreland that's been so good. But
they didn't play. So that's something got completely taken off the schedule. So now
it might have been with all the snow yesterday. Maybe that was one of the games that got postponed. I know Elizabeth Ford and Albert Gallatin, I believe, got postponed.
Yeah, so it looks like they're going to play now Uniontown and Southmoreland on the 22nd.
Okay.
at Southmoreland.
But that's
going
to be those are the big games, and Bell Vernon's I think put themselves in a good spot with a win over Southmoreland already. They play Elizabeth Forward, I believe, next week.
And EF lost to Southmoreland already
this
year.
So Bell Vernon might be in the driver's seat for that number 2 spot, but they got to take care of business against teams like EF. They got to take care of business against Southmoreland the next time they play, and who knows? Maybe you can get some momentum going into that next Uniontown game and pull out a win there. So this is a Bell Vernon team that I think is a good squad. When they're doing everything the right way, this is what they're capable of doing. And I know that Coach Salvino has confidence in what they're capable of, and they just got to put it all together and run the offense correctly, play defense for a full 32 minutes. You can't go through those lulls. And that's the thing. Last night, you didn't see that from Bell Vernon. There in the past, you've seen that quite a few times where this is a team that would get out to a fast start or be up big. I think weren't they up big in that Southmoreland game, and then Southmoreland kind of came back.
They built a double-digit lead by the end of the first quarter, and they got outscored in the last 3 quarters of that game, or just able to hang on and win it.
Right. So, if you can avoid those lulls as much as you can, that's a recipe for success. So, this is a Bell Vernon team that got a pretty big victory after that loss to Uniontown. I believe they're at Albert Gallatin, I want to say, tomorrow.
I believe so.
And then they have that showdown with Elizabeth Forward next week, and that's kind of a good segue because I wanted to talk about this Elizabeth Forward Warriors team and what they've been able to do here early on in the season because, is there a team that has been as surprising as Elizabeth Forward here early on? 9-2 overall. They did suffer a 7-point setback against Southmoreland already, but that was a tie game after 3 quarters, and Southmoreland was able to win it in the 4th. But this is a EF team that they have Uniontown, I believe, to start the week. Oh no, actually Friday night they have
EF ends it
Uniontown.
with Uniontown.
Yeah, actually I don't know why I even question that because I'm going to be there. But EF has Uniontown and then Bell Vernon next week. So it doesn't get any easier with this schedule of having to play Southmoreland, Uniontown, and Bell Vernon in 3 straight games. But this is a very talented EF team that has really surprised some people. Isaiah Turner has been huge for them leading the way.
He's probably I think front-runner defense player of the year.
Yeah, he might
fantastic.
be one of the candidates for player of the year early on.
Honestly,
the way that he has led this team.
Zion's been Zion.
Yeah, Zion's been
which
Zion.
doesn't help when you have Zion in the area.
Right. But what I'm saying is Turner's at least in that conversation. You can have
absolutely.
a conversation and realistically put his name in the hat for that award come the end of the season. But the way that he has led this team, and it hasn't just been him. Cy Herschelroth has been huge.
Tyler
Basic.
He's been great.
Has, come in as a freshman and has immediately had an impact.
He's helped Basic's done a fantastic job of kind of helping ease the load of no longer having a Drew Cook in your repertoire who's now over at South Allegheny.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of balance. It hasn't been just one guy taking over. Turner's definitely been, the leading contributor for them, especially from an offensive perspective. But this is a team that has a lot of balance, has different guys contributing in a big way. I think, Charlie Milai being able to play for them was big. So, you look at that last game against Southmoreland. It was 56-56 after 3 quarters, and then Southmoreland won the 4th by a 21-14 margin. Isaiah Turner, 25 points in that game. Cy Herschelroth with 17. Tyler Basic with 12. They had a 9-game winning streak before that loss.
They were beat a good SA team.
Yeah, that was a huge win for them. So. This is an EF team that I think can shock some people. Definitely, I think, going to be a playoff team. But it's just a matter of, how they get through this 3-game gauntlet. Uniontown's not going to be easy whatsoever. And then you got Bell Vernon next week. That, I think, is going to be the most interesting game. Very interested in seeing how that ends up. But, a 9-game winning streak, that you got to give them some credit for what they have been able to do to start the season. And I think Coach Nolan Larry even mentioned, we've kind of even surprised ourselves with the way that we've started this season.
Yeah, I talked to him before, I believe, when they played Clareton. He said, we kind of thought coming into the beginning of the year that, clear Uniontown won, and then, I think it was pretty obvious that it was Southmoreland, Belle Vernon, and us as the next three. He said, but, I wouldn't necessarily think that we were the next a good chance at second place. And now I feel like it's completely wide open, and we've kind of surprised ourselves to get to where we're at this year, and I think they're going to continue to do something like that. I wouldn't be surprised if they split with Belle Vernon again this year. I mean, Belle Vernon, obviously, if they play up to their ability, I think they could find a way to compete with Uniontown, but that involves them staying out of foul trouble. That's Belle Vernon's big weakness. They don't have depth. EF has some depth off the bench. I mean, a guy like Spence coming off the bench. You have some pieces you can plug and play in there that really help you, like a Flournoy. I mean, they are probably my second biggest surprise in the Mon Valley this year. First is what I see on your computer screen right there. Zach's got the Commodores on the roll,
We've been pretty good with these segues, and let's
Zach has got the Commodores on the roll. Another section win, 3-1 inside of section play. Frazier's not looking just to make the 4 spot. They're looking to compete for maybe the 2nd spot this year in the section. And, Coach Zach Kiefer got that Frazier team rolling, a big overtime win over the Mighty Mikes last night.
Yep.
And, that's building off. You came back from down by, I believe, 18 against Chartiers Houston to beat them on the road. That's a massive win. And then it doesn't matter if Carmichael's are up and down. You've seen some great battles in years past, when you had like a Chris Barish there back when Frazier won the section for the first time in forever. But now you're looking at pieces like that. It's like, okay, we're really moving here. We really have a great opportunity to do something for the Commodores, and I think they're starting to buy in. Coach Zach Kiefer is a phenomenal basketball coach. I know I loved playing for him when I had the opportunity, and he's got this team bought into what he's trying to do. And as Nick said, go Doors.
There we go. We got it in the chat. But also Jeremy's in the chat. Hi, Jeremy. We'll kind of start out. We'll recap our high school roundup from today's paper. If you haven't picked up a copy of today's Mon Valley Independent,
Brandon Davis. Thank you, Nick.
Brandon Davis. There we go. I knew it was Brandon. I couldn't remember his last name. I apologize to Brandon Davis for forgetting his last name. But thank you to Nick Hicksonball for giving us that one. The Doors with a big victory over Carmichael's 64-57 in overtime last night. Dalen McManus with a team-high 16. And the Commodores outscored the Mikes 12-5 in that extra period. Got a big victory, got big performances from Brennan Stewart and Darian Bateman, each with double-doubles. Stewart had 12 points, 10 boards. Bateman with 14 points, 11 boards. And it seems like those three have been very consistent in terms of being in double figures, being able to contribute on the boards. And that's been pretty big for the Commodores here early on.
Oh, without question. It's just what you're looking for. And Coach Zach Kiefer has a number of, obviously, Dalen's the catalyst. If he's going, that team's going to go. We saw him not going against Charleroi. He was, kind of down on himself, and we saw what happened when they played Charleroi. But when Dalen's playing his game, Frazier can compete with a lot of the teams that they're going to go up against, like a Chartiers Houston, which I think many people thought they were kind of going to get it handed to them, especially at the break. But, then you have a very athletic Darian Bateman. Brock Alexson has a lot of size. Second tallest player we've seen this year, besides Amaso of Montour. That guy's an absolute monster out of Senegal. But then you have Stewart, who's a great, extra guard to have in there. And you got some guys you can just pull off the bench. He has Coach Kiefer will tell you, he got about 8 guys that are almost the exact same player. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. You know what you have in McManus, Stewart, Alexson, and Bateman, and then kind of everybody else very similar coming off the bench. I think Jackson Blaney's been great in a role, a very young guy. Brant Alexson, just a freshman. I think he's going to be good. But, Frazier's bought into this. They have to go up to Carmichael's, which won't be easy. They haven't played Best Center yet. They haven't played Burgettstown yet. They already lost to Fort Cherry, who's kind of been their Achilles heel for the last couple years, it just seems like. I'm sure Frazier is sick and tired of the Rangers of Fort Cherry, and a lot of schools are after their football run. But it was good to see Fort Cherry win for football, I thought personally. But, it's a team they've picked up wins they were supposed to this year, and you look at it, you beat Best Center twice, and you take care of business against Bentworth at home. you're going to the playoffs again.
Yeah, this is a Fraser team that's on a good run here. The Commodores back in action Friday on the road against Burgettstown for a section matchup. We'll roll through the rest of this.
Go early. You don't want to get caught on that one-lane road, especially on homecoming.
I've never been there.
I had to go there for a Saturday noon homecoming game,
Yeah.
and I was running out of gas.
I think you told me that.
That was
before.
a good time. I looked at some cop. I'm like, can I park my car here? I can't leave it turned on. I got to go set up. Shout out to that cop. Good dude.
But rolling through the rest of this round with the Eagles of Sarah Catholic, 83-59 over Riverview. I know this is a Sarah team kind of struggled early on, maybe kind of hitting their stride. Owen Dombrowski definitely hitting his stride. 34 points last night and tied a school record with 8 3-pointers in that Sarah win. Isaiah Petty.
He hadn't been getting the ball. I mean, he has not been shooting well from outside this year, so that's big to see.
Very big performance for him. Isaiah Petty with 24 points,
So
inching closer to
26 away,
1,000
I
career
believe, now?
points. Yeah, inching
26.
closer to 1,000. So something that will be on our radar. But the Eagles return to action against Aquinas Academy Saturday for a non-section game. South Allegheny 70-57 over West Mifflin. Alex, you can talk a little bit more about this one since you were there with that one. But Drew Cook led a couple of players in double figures in this victory.
Every
4 in double
starter.
figures.
Actually, all 5.
All 5?
Yeah, all 5 were in double figures last night. Mike had 12, Josh had 11, 17 for Drew, 16 for Cam, and I think Justin was up at 14 in that game. But South Allegheny, they were trailing at the end of every quarter until quarter number 4 at the end of the game. They put up 27 points in that fourth quarter, Jose. They went in down by, I think, 2 points after trailing by 5 at the break. They gave up 4 points in the first 5 minutes of that fourth quarter. They were locked down defensively. Drew Cook, Justin Beatty, Cameron Epps, absolutely incredible defensively in that game for the Gladiators. And, yeah, the offense came. They had a big boost. Michael Mahalski back to the starting lineup for the first time since before Christmas. He's played 1 game since the Christmas break, and it was about a minute against Avonworth. Came off the bench, knocked down a 3, but you could tell that ankle was bothering him. So they kind of shut him down and got him back. And you imagine Michael Mahalski, that game doesn't go to overtime against Avonworth. Yeah. They probably win that game. So now if you're SA, you just went on the road. You beat a very good West Mifflin team. This is not the West Mifflin team of last year. This is a very talented West Mifflin team. They only lost to Montour, who's the favorite in the section, by 10 points at Montour, 70-60. You know, very good team of Brandon Battles, David Fleming, 3 threes from the volleyball line last night, like just lights out, and that's when Cook, Beatty, and Epps kind of shut him down. But those guys absolutely put a fourth quarter for the ages together and kind of got the season back on the right track, getting their first section win. That was massive for South Allegheny. Going into the fourth quarter, down by 2, and to win by 13 points. I mean, SA got a big win that they needed. Yeah,
take some momentum into a matchup Friday against Quaker Valley, 7:30 p.m. tip for that matchup. Rolling through the rest of these games from last night, Penn Trafford a 64-55 win over McKeesport. Peters Township 84-35 over Ringgold. Jefferson Morgan 54-47 over California. Burgettstown 63-42 over Bentworth. Jeanette 58-46 over Clairton. Yock with a 62-36 win over Mount Pleasant. And then on the girls' side, Elizabeth Ford 71-50 in a non-section matchup against Fox Chapel. EF had a rally on Monday night as well against River Valley. They trailed at halftime and were able to come back to get a big non-section victory. They get a even bigger one here against Fox Chapel. I believe tomorrow night is the big local matchup between Elizabeth Ford and Bell Vernon. So
maybe not the same pomp and circumstance.
Not the same matchup for sure with a much younger Bell Vernon team this year, but still a local rivalry to be on the lookout for. Of course, Noah Yarton, a former assistant coach at Bell Vernon, getting to play against his friend Caitlin Slagus and those Bell Vernon Leopards. So definitely gonna be one to watch.
Chances Yard tries to make her call the first time out in that game.
I don't know if there's gonna be. Is there gonna be trash talk? Who knows? We'll see.
I'm sure there will be.
Between the two. Very excited to see that matchup tomorrow. Also got to mention Thomas Jefferson with a big victory over Trinity last night in boys action. Adam Brewer had coverage of that in today's Mon Valley Independent. But Thomas Jefferson, 16 three-pointers in this victory over the Hillers. I believe now 5 straight wins for Thomas Jefferson, a team that Dom DeSico is very high on.
I think that's a team that's good, especially after what they did to Penn Trafford. I mean, you gotta be on the lookout if you're in 5A.
The most impressive thing is they had 3 guys in double figures. You know, Noah Prosser led it with 16, Nick Turkoglu with 13, Kane Egerton with 11. He's been a stud.
Turkoglu
has been huge for them.
Turkoglu and Kane Egerton. I mean, those two.
And that's the thing. They were in double figures last night. Their leading scorer, Evan Berger, 18.9 per game. He had 8 points. Brody Evans had 8 points. Everybody is contributing right now for this TJ team. There's so much balance. They're getting contributions from everybody on the floor.
I think that's a big thing that you mentioned, too, is not even that he only had 8 points, is what Berger's averaging this year.
Yeah.
That's kind of low for Evan in the grand scheme of things. But when you look at it, it's better, though.
And he's doing everything else the right way,
everything's so spread out for TJ. You have so many key instrumental parts and pieces of this team. And Noah Prosser was really cool. I was listening to the Peters Township game when they beat them at home on the way home from the Bell Vernon Southmoreland game, and I'm just laughing because the guy announcing the game, and I know him, really great guy, nothing against him. He's like, man, Prosser had like 2 threes all season long, and he has like 5 tonight. I'm like, yeah, apparently he hasn't watched Noah Prosser play very much. Noah Prosser, a lights-out three-point shooter, but Turkoglu, a sophomore, came into the starting lineup. I think really it seems like almost because Cam Egerton was dealing with an injury. You'd imagine almost Cam would have been that starter. Mm-hmm. And then each and every game, we've seen more and more of Kane Egerton. He's just a freshman, but he is so talented. And this is a TJ team. When you're getting all these guys scoring, spread out scoring, and every single player on the floor can step out and shoot the three. Every single player is willing to get to the basket and bang around underneath. I mean, Brody Evans, big dude. I don't want to bully with him out down low. I mean,
listen, Coach DeSico said that he's a very underrated shooter. I mean, he can shoot.
He'll tell you that too. He's one of those guys like, yeah, I'll step out and shoot the three. Yep. I mean, they all can. You know, we've seen Prosser. He's not afraid to get to the hole. Berger loves driving and but they can all shoot from outside. You truly have almost every player is a combo. That they are a great guard, great forward style. Every single player basically can play all 5 positions on the floor for Thomas Jefferson in that starting lineup.
Yeah, and Dom DeSico, very high words on his team, said this is by far the best offensive team I've had in my 19 years here.
And as someone who thinks that Uniontown has a chance to give Lincoln Park a run for their money this year, T. Jones beat Uniontown this year.
Yeah.
And that was a big comeback game they lost. And I think if they get the lead, they win that game. But that's, again, a team that, played with a very talented Uniontown team who I think, again, can line up with Lincoln Park, who's probably the best team in the entire WPIL.
Yeah,
not probably. It is.
Oh, it is, yeah.
It is.
Thomas Jefferson definitely hitting their stride as they continue into section as they continue section play now at 3-0. Big section showdown for them Friday night though against Bethel Park, another team that's 3-0 in section. So that should be a pretty interesting matchup.
I think TJ, and this is nothing against Bethel Park. I think we've seen some of Bethel Park's other games this year. I think TJ has their way down in one of my favorite gyms inside the WPIL.
And you look at it too, last year, Coach DeSico mentioned this to Adam last night. They were 3-0 in section. They lost on the road against Bethel Park. So they're hoping to kind of avoid a little bit of deja vu here and hoping that they can get the better of Bethel Park and move to 4-0 in section play. But, anything else you want to discuss here before we kind of wrap things up? Anything we're missing?
I think we've hit.
pretty
most
much
of it
everything.
on the head. That might be a first, Jose. I think we went through everything pretty good today.
I know we're only 50 minutes in, less than 50 minutes in. If there's anything you guys want us to discuss in the chat, let us know here as we wrap things up. But very exciting start to the winter sports season. We'll kind of touch on what we're going to be covering the rest of the week. I know me and Jeremy
it's busy.
Me and Jeremy are heading over to California University tonight. Jeremy will have coverage of the Cal U women and their matchup tonight, and I will be heading over for the men's game. Seton Hill coming to town against Cal, and we'll see a familiar face on the Seton Hill women's basketball sideline.
Oh, absolutely.
With Crystal Gibbs, of course, an assistant now with Seton Hill, so going to be excited to see her and see this Seton Hill team come up against Cal. And we know that this is my first time seeing the men's team this year, so I'm excited to get to see what they can do. Only one loss on the season for the Cal men, so I'm excited to see them for the first time this year. So there, and then heading to California High School tomorrow, and then
You're going to be sick of Cal High School by the end of the week.
I'm gonna have my Cal fix over the next 2 days, and then heading to Elizabeth Forward Friday night for that matchup against Uniontown. So I'll be busy over the next couple of days.
Yeah, hockey tomorrow on the network. Kind of a switcheroo. We were originally scheduled, but due to a PIHL scheduling just mix-up, we were going to be at TJ Fox Chapel, and they said, hey, we had some scheduling mix-up. Can you do Ringgold for us? So we'll be covering the Rams again tomorrow. They've been rolling as of late, and again, no surprise the defending champs have got it on the right track. Familiar face we were talking about earlier, Owen Haywood had a hat trick on senior night. A really big game for Owen Haywood and the Rams, so they'll look to get another win tomorrow at home at the CFS Bank Event Center. 6 o'clock start on that one. Then Friday, I believe, barring any changes, might have to revisit now that Clareton lost to Jeanette last night, but it was originally going to be the Bears and the GCC Centurions kind of for first place, so that might kind of change on Friday, and then into Saturday, the big slate of all those games at California. And I guess we should probably pull up the schedule and maybe run down those games, Jose.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about it. The MVI Girls Shootout Classic scheduled for Saturday at California High School. I know that there was – I don't have any other information on this, and don't know if it's going to be an issue moving forward, but I do know that there was a leak in the ceiling at California that got their boys game moved to Jefferson Morgan last night. So I don't know if there's going to be what's going to go on with that.
Good to know.
But that was the reason that California's game was moved last night. That was moved to Jefferson Morgan. So
at least game slate probably not going to change.
Yeah, it's still, as far as I know, still on as scheduled. But we'll have more information, of course, moving forward on that. But
if you want to look down the games, obviously Charleroi Cal supposed to start it off. Then Clareton taking on the Commodores of Fraser, Bell Vernon versus South Allegheny, and the best game of the night, most likely, at least on paper, Sarah Catholic taking on Thomas Jefferson. I'm very excited for that one.
And I believe I will be there for that one. I know we still have to put together our coverage schedule.
If you're looking for me Saturday, just I'll be there.
Yeah.
I'll live at Cal on Saturday.
But I believe I'll be there for the 5 o'clock game.
And also, if you want to bring us food, because I won't be able to leave Cal, very much appreciated.
If you want to bring Alex some stuff, maybe I'll pick you up something on my way back. But a lot on the slate here for the rest of the week, both on MVI Live and in print for the Mon Valley Independent Sports section. But we will have you covered in every way.
Looking forward to it.
Looking forward to it as always. But we appreciate the support of MVI Live, of the Mon Valley Independent Sports Department, of the Mon Valley Independent in general. Very proud of the work that we are able to bring, and are excited to continue that. But if you're not doing anything Saturday, come visit us. Come hang out with us. Come see some girls basketball as we as we get set to bring you our second annual MVI Shootout Classic on the girls' side. Last year was a very successful event. We moved it to just one night, which I think is going to be beneficial for everyone.
Oh, absolutely.
I feel like last year a lot of teams were coming off of very big stretches of games where they were pretty fatigued coming in.
And shout out to the Bills for winning, just so we don't have a Steeler game in the middle of the shootout.
That
would have been bad.
So now a Sunday kickoff for the Steelers instead of a Saturday with the Kansas City Chiefs. So shout out to Josh Allen and those Bills. But as we wrap things up, just want to thank all of you for tuning in. Be sure to follow us on social media. Be sure to follow along for us as we give updates on Saturday's slate. And be sure to subscribe on Miradex and watch some of those live streams on MVI Live with Alex Lyons. Of course, hockey action tomorrow night and some basketball action to not really wrapping up the week, since Saturday we'll have a full slate too. But you'll want to be able to subscribe on Miradex for not just coverage of Thursday and Friday's action, but for all 4 games in the MVI Shootout Girls Classic. So be sure to do that. But for Alex Lyons, for the ghost of Jeremy Salou, who is in the chat, if you want to talk to him, he's still there. I'm Jose Negron. Thank you for joining us for episode number 96 of the Valley Sports Guys podcast. Episode 100 is fast approaching. Very excited to work on that and see what we can do to make that as special as possible. But thank you all for tuning in. Thank you to His Place Coffee community and more for allowing us to spout our nonsense as usual. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, everybody. Thank you.